Hey folks, Blackcross here, and today I want to go ahead and do a movie review. I hadn't really done one before, so I was like, should I really do this? And then I thought, screw it. It involves Final Fantasy 15, I'm gonna do a fucking review. But not just any review, I'm gonna do both the movie and the anime. Recently, the 5th and final part of the 5-part anime series for YouTube on Final Fantasy 15 had finally been released, and I was able to watch all 5 of them finally. Record, none of them is in English dub. It's all Japanese. It's all in Japanese with English subs, but you can still watch it for free on YouTube, and the link will be in the description below. As for Final Fantasy 15, it came out in theaters August 19th. It was available for digitally August 30th. So I was able to watch it later on that particular month. And I'm glad I did. I had a friend who downloaded it, and I watched it with him and everything like that. So I figured, you know what, I waited long enough, I'm going to do a review. Now, there is, however, one problem, and that is, I'm not very good when it comes to telling stuff without giving any spoilers. So, this is going to be my first attempt, and please, please, please do let me know if I did give out any spoilers, in which case I do apologize, but I'm going to try to make this a spoiler-free review. Mostly because I feel like anybody who goes to see it is seeing it because they're more or less excited for Final Fantasy 15, the game, to come out. Which is very understandable. So, let's get one thing straight. These two basically coincide with Final Fantasy 15. So, if you haven't seen it, and you're interested in Final Fantasy 15, do go and see these. I promise you, they are actually really good. But I'm going to first talk about the movie, and then we're going to talk about the anime series. So, first and foremost, the movie itself. The best way to describe this movie would be that it is a somewhat of a 2-hour-long cutscene. That's basically the best explanation that anyone can give. Is that it's basically a 2-hour-long movie cutscene. And it serves a purpose that way. Basically, it's making the game Final Fantasy 15 playable at the start. I mean, like, immediately within the start of the game, you immediately start playing it. No 10 or 20 minute long cutscene, no explanation. You jump right into it. The movie helps explain the situation at hand. And basically, the story takes place before shit hits the fan. The majority of us already know what happened and everything like that. Every one of us know what's going to happen. Those of us who are interested in Final Fantasy 15, we all know what's going to happen. Notch is going to try to take back his home kingdom and become the next king. That's basically what we know. We don't know how or what transpired before then. And that's what this movie is to fill in the gap for the startup, basically. Basically explains how it got started, how long it's been, and everything like that, and what's happened in the kingdom itself. And it does really well, I think. It does a really good job presenting as a prequel to Final Fantasy 15. And the good thing is that some of the reviews, and by reviews I mean besides Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, I've had mixed reactions with them. I've had like reactions to where I was like, okay, you're spot on with that review. Then there were some that were like so outrageously high, I'm like, you're stupid. Then there were some that were so outrageously low, I was like, you're even more stupid, and you need to stop. Like, their reviews are off the charts of what they don't know. I think the only perfect review I've ever seen was that of frickin' the Lego Movie, which understandably it is a good movie, even to this day it still is. But every other movie has been like hit and miss of like reviews of what makes sense and what works. And ultimately, I've had problems with them. I really do. So, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and you depend on them, don't trust them for everything. I recommend that. Do not trust them for everything. I mean, you can if you want to, that's fine, but I wouldn't go on Rotten Tomatoes. Final Fantasy Kingsglaive is only meant to be part of the Final Fantasy 15 universe. Much like how Advent Children was basically the part of the series of Final Fantasy 7. If you love Final Fantasy 7, Advent Children is to extend the story of Final Fantasy 7 after the events happen. Kingsglaive, same thing, except it's a before math. So I mean, if you were interested in Final Fantasy 15, Kingsglaive is going to be great. Now that being said, there were some reviewers who said they actually went and saw Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive in theaters. Whether it was part of their job to review the movie, or they just wanted to do it because they had a couple of friends that said they were going to go see it, and they figured, what the hell, I'll go see it as well. Their response, the majority of them, about 9 out of 10 of them, basically said that after seeing Kingsglaive, they were actually a little bit interested in Final Fantasy 15 the game. That actually says a lot, really. It does. Because it basically says if for some reason the game trailers wasn't enough to convince them, went and saw the movie, apparently made them say, okay, you know what, I'm actually pretty excited for Final Fantasy 15. I know after I saw Kingsglaive, I was really excited for 15. I was like, I can't believe I have to wait 2 more months for this shit. But you can't help for what's happened. They gave a reason for why it's being pushed back. And the good thing is that it's for a good cause. It's for a good cause for everybody. So really, no one can get angry for it. They have a good reason for why they pushed it back and everything like that. And for that matter, I think we can all wait a little longer. But, Kingsglaive, let's put it this way. The character models themselves, they are, to some degree, absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing. And the good thing is that it's not seamlessly beautiful. And by seamlessly beautiful, I don't mean like they stay beautiful all the time. They always degrade in different characteristics. In other words, some characters have flaws. And that is a good thing in my opinion, because if a character is always built beautifully, it kind of destroys the ideal of realism, you know? Every one of us have a flaw feature for us. Me, I have this stupid double chin, which people probably won't even notice, but it's there. I mean, if I do the Aaron look, you can clearly see it clear as day. But that's a feature that everyone has. Some has like too big of ears, some have like a scar from like years back or something like that. Hell, their eyebrows may be either completely woolied up or non-existent. That's just a characteristic that most people have a flaw of. But, in this one, there are some characters who have flaws, and it makes them like an actual human being. And the CG animation, you look at this, and you think to yourself, really, this is CG? Half the time I keep forgetting that it is. It's like, wow, this is outstanding, this is amazing. Gosh, this is beautiful. This is amazing. This is really CG. I know that whenever my younger brother caught a glimpse of me watching Kingsglaive, he was like, "This is CG?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's CG. Whole thing is CG. There is no actor, just voice acting." It's so great that they've done an amazing job with this one, and it's just absolutely perfect. But I say that, but then there are times whenever, like, very, very few times will you find like 1 or 2 characters that are kind of misplaced and they look a little on the derpy side. But after like a second or 2 of screen time, they immediately disappear and you don't notice it quickly. But there are times whenever you do see them act a little derpy in the face. But again, it disappears relatively quickly. Now, in this movie, and again, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but if it is a spoiler, guess what? You should have known that by now. You do see the monsters of Final Fantasy. And the monsters themselves are actually some of the coolest designs I have ever seen. And I'm hoping you encounter all these different monsters. I won't say which ones I saw and what they resemble, but anyone who is a Final Fantasy fan in general, like, whether they have played all of Final Fantasy or they played like half the series, like I have, hadn't played all of them, I know, shock of all shocks, I hadn't played all of them, but I have played about half the series anyway. But from what I saw, I recognize creatures from every game existing. You know, you see the demons that they call them, which are creatures that are stronger than the normal creatures you would fight during the day. And they usually vary for like the Iron Giant that you would fight later on in the game. But there are these creatures called demons, they call them. And you see which ones are from which ones, and you're like, oh my gosh, I know what that one's from. I know where that's from. I know where that's from. I know where that's from. And it's just, the detail that they put into them is just so incredibly well. There'll be a bunch of times where you're just drooling at the fact that these creatures look so lifelike, and it's just so amazing. And the world itself is seamlessly awesome. It's just, I cannot wait for 15 to come out just to see the overall map views of all the different locations you're going to be going to. It is going to be so freaking awesome, and I cannot wait. Oh gosh, it's just, I don't want to give out any spoilers, but one thing's for certain. If I thought I knew what the story of Final Fantasy 15 was going to be, I would be lying myself where I was like, okay, I'm 100% certain where I know where this is going. After watching this movie, I have no flipping clue as to what just transpired. Like, I knew what was starting up, but I had no idea about this key point. And like I said, I'm not going to exploit or anything like that, but I'm actually pretty excited to see where this is going to be taking place, considering the fact that, you know, the entire time, you see the Empire, you know what they're up to and everything like that. The Kingdom of Lucia itself is trying to protect themselves and everything like that, and they're barely hanging on. Reality, though, there's a third party in this game that you didn't even know existed. It doesn't even come up until, like, towards the end of the movie, and you're like, whoa, is this going to play a major part in the game? Is this what it's going to be? And it's going to be so interesting to see where this goes. I'm really excited to see what happens, just knowing that that's there, and it's like, wow, I have no words for this one. And again, I wanted to tell you about it, but I'm afraid it's going to be spoilers, so again, I'm going to try to kind of restrain myself from saying so much. But it just, the movie itself, I highly recommend it. If you're interested in playing the game and anything like that, and if you can, try to get the movie. It's supposed to come out October 4th, availability on DVD, and it's available now for digital download. So if you want to watch it, be my guest. It is that good, I promise you. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy in general, and you were thinking to yourself, you know what, Final Fantasy 15 I'll eventually get, let's just watch the movie and see what it's like. You watch the movie, I guarantee you, you're going to be excited about the game. Now that the movie review is finally out of the way, let's talk about the anime itself. The anime known as Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15. There's a reason why it's called Brotherhood. It basically tells you the story of the four main characters. Well, three of the four. The fourth one being Noctis, you don't see a lot of. And I think they're trying to save that for, like, in Final Fantasy 15, where it kind of explores the whole detail between him and Lunafreya and everything like that. And I think that's probably a good idea. But to go on ahead and put the main character stories in the anime and get that out of the way, it allows it to where you're able to explore more about other stuff that the game can do a better job of explaining than what it does periodically. The Brotherhood itself, it's just, I thought it did really good. It really did good for what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be a brief story about the three friends of how they know Noctis. That's basically what it's supposed to do. The first episode leaves you on a cliffhanger. And I was like, really? You're gonna do that? You're gonna do that to me? You're gonna do that to me, huh? You're gonna do that to me! And then, like, the second episode gets released, and then I'm like, yeah, you're actually gonna do that. If you're actually gonna leave me hanging on that one. I don't even get to know what happens. But I was enjoying the second, third, and fourth part. I was like, wow, this is actually really good. And then after the fourth episode, I'm like, oh crap. We're fixing to enter in the final episode of the series. Are they going to talk about Noctis? Is that what's going to happen? What? And what's funny is that it gets to the 5th episode, and it picks up right after the ending of the 1st episode. So in other words, you actually get to finally see where this transpires. And it wasn't until like I saw the 5th episode that I realized the time frame of the anime series itself. Now, where the movie takes place literally before the game, this one takes place mid-game, more than likely. I say mid-game because Noctis already has his powers, and Noctis has already been known about what has happened to his kingdom and everything like that. So I automatically can say that this one is mid-game anime timeline. And the 5th part, it just, oh my gosh. That ending, I almost cried. It's bad enough that in Kingsglaive, I cried on that one. This one, I literally was like, oh gosh, that's too painful for me to take in. That's too painful. Again, I don't want to ruin the ending, but I think you guys know what happens in Final Fantasy 15 anyway. So, you pretty much have an idea what happened in Kingsglaive and the anime itself, but that being said, it's just that 5th episode. Oh wow, that's... The fight scenes are awesome in both the 1st and the 5th episode. And then just that memorable moment, it just... if it wasn't for the fact that I played the Platinum demo, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out. But after the 5th episode, I realized that Noctis has a lot more pride with his dad than I thought he would. And it isn't until you watch both the movie and the anime that something else transpires, and that is King Regis won't have a big role in the game, which is unfortunately sad. Because I love the character, I love how well he was designed. You know, back at E3 when it first got confirmed that it's in development finally, of Final Fantasy 15, I was like, okay, this character's decent, I don't mind him, he's just there. And then when they finally got the finalization of what he was going to look like and everything like that, I was like, wow, I like this one better. I like it a lot. And then I watched the movie, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much more respect for the dude. Then I watched the anime, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm sad. It's just, oh my gosh. Because, I mean, I doubt you'll feel it in the game, but in both the movie and the anime, you actually get to feel the sense of, like, what he had to go through as both a king and as a father. You know, he's had a really rough time trying to balance it both out. You know, he's trying to protect the kingdom, but at the same time, he's trying to protect his son, because he knows that eventually he's going to have to overtake the throne and take charge of what he had to do. But he cares about his son so much that he's trying to do his best to balance his life out. And I think that can be a problem, you know? It really can be. Especially when you consider the fact the stakes are much higher. You know, the lives of millions or the lives of one son. You know, it's just... That's tough, you know? It's like whenever I see people play the Would You Rather. It's like, would you rather save 2 family members or save 10,000 people? That's a hard choice. I'm sorry, that is. You don't even know if those 10,000 people are like friends or family members. You don't even know. They could be complete strangers. To risk losing 2 family members, no one can choose that. And for King Regis, I think that's even harder for him. Which I think that's probably why he allowed his son to go on this journey anyway to begin with, because he knew that his son would be safe away from the kingdom of what's about to transpire. He knew something was going to happen, and it happened. And thus, after it happened, Noctis has to face this on his own. And you know, you got these mixed feelings of what he's having to face with. He's having to face the fact that his father didn't tell him what was going to happen. He's having to face the fact that he's having to go back to the kingdom just to get it back. He realizes that now that he has to overtake it, he just doesn't know how to take it in and how to respond to it. And that's kind of like why people are saying this is like a coming of age story, because Noctis has to take control of the throne after the loss of it, you know? And it's just, I love how well it is done for itself. I love the story of Final Fantasy 15 thus far. I love how the movie has done. I love how the anime is done. And after both of them, the game is just getting better and better. I mean, I was already hyped up before, but after those two, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. It's just November 29th is going to be the biggest date of anyone's life. And it's bad enough that that happens after Black Friday, you know, where it's after November. What day is that Friday anyway? I forgot actually. Yeah. The Black Friday falls on November 25th. And then 29th falls on that following Tuesday. And that, it's just, oh my gosh. Oh man, I cannot wait for this game. I really cannot. It just, the more news I look into of Final Fantasy 15, the more it's like, I can't wait. It's just, oh my gosh. I know. I'm glowing over Final Fantasy 15 and I'm overhyping it, but I can't wait. I'm sorry, that's just how it is, you know? Any person who has been delved into a game for the wait period as long as like the rest of us have, you know how it feels. You know how the rest of us feels. And we're just excited, you know? We can't help but feel this excitement. That's just how it is, you know? Yes, we know that it may not be as great as what we're predicting, but we know it's gonna be outstanding regardless, you know? Because the game is finally getting released. You know, they've been talking about it for years, and then a few years later they said, oh, it's in development now. And it's been in development for a long ass time, and now it's on the approach of being released. And it's just, oh, it's right within our grasp right now, and it's just, that attention to feel, to touch that cover and say, yes, I can play it finally. It's just, But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about both the movie and the anime, because they both were really, really good. And I'm glad that Square Enix invested in the ideal of just exploring into a deeper world that it is, and just make it expand on its own, you know? Not so much Justice 5 Monsters, but that's a mobile game, and that one looked pretty fun on its own. Mostly because I have a guilty pleasure with pinball games, so it's not a big deal to me. I don't mind them. They're actually pretty fun, and they're a good way to kill time. But Final Fantasy 15 has been probably one of the more exciting games out there so far, next to Final Fantasy 7. And I think that's what they were trying to do with 15, is try to ravel what made 7 so good. And seeing why it made such a big impact, they figured they tried to invest more with 15. And that's why it's been taking so long, is because they wanted to make it better than what they have done. They want to be able to say, hey, it's a hell of a lot better than 13. You can say that much. It's going to be a hell of a lot better than 7, probably, more than likely. It's just, they're making a big move, and with it, I think, is a good thing, personally for me. But anyway, though, that's it for this video. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about those two things, the movie and anime. Again, highly recommended if you're into Final Fantasy 15. If you are interested, go see them. They're really good. And like I said in my previous discussion video about the DVD that Amazon is selling, I personally can't wait for that one just to see it. Now, supposedly there's a secret 6th episode of Brotherhood, and I don't know about that. So, I mean, I don't know what that would be, nor do I know where it would take place. It's just, after watching Part 5, I don't know what Part 6 would be. I really don't. But, at any rate, though, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. This is Blackheart signing off. Take care, guys.